Hello, travelers, and welcome to my travel bistro. It's because I imagine you sitting across from me like we were at a bistro, having whatever it is you want in the way of food and libation. Um, Travel is such a personal thing, so everyone has their own take on the experience. You could be sitting beside someone on a train, a plane, a ship, on a shore excursion, whatever, and you would be having the greatest time and they wouldn't. Or you're not having such a great time and they are. It's such a personal thing. So when you have the opportunity, like we did, to go on a beautiful, world renowned, really, ship, like one of the Cunard ships, and we have been on two of them. We have been on the Queen Mary 2 and the Queen Victoria, and they are spectacular and they are splendid in so many ways, according to the way I feel. The thing about those ships, both of them, is that it takes everything up a notch. It it makes you feel special to be on board their ships because they know they have a wonderful ship and their attitude reflects that. It's like being around someone who makes you want to try harder because they try hard, because they do their best. They bring their A game and it makes you want to do the same. And that's kind of what it's like to be on a Cunard ship, or that's the way it's been for us. It's a little dressier, which is absolutely fantastic by me. Today, let's dig down into the Queen Mary 2. We have been on the original Queen Mary in California that's permanently there. It's a hotel, and I will talk about that because it's a wonderful, wonderful place to visit. But if you're actually on the Queen Mary going on a cruise, and the cruise that we did on the Queen Mary 2 was out of New York. We have sailed out of New York, different harbors out of New York, and it's a different experience at each one. But the Queen Mary, uh, we were taking transatlantic with no stops. We had no ports of call. And that may sound boring to you, but once you're on this magnificent ship, it isn't, believe me. You get to chat with fascinating people if you so choose or not. There are places where you can have your own quiet time. You can go to ballroom dance classes. You can go to parties. You can go to high tea. You can go to the planetarium. You can meet people that come on board to give speeches and lectures. Gary got his certificate for going to a series of lectures from Oxford. And while he was doing that, I was going to a series of other lectures of people that came on board, famous interior design, just cooking, various things. They they offer so much that you don't even miss the ports of call because you know it's that kind of experience. The ship is the experience on a transatlantic crossing. Now it was November, and when it gets to be that time of the year in the North Sea, the sea can be rough. And these ships are so well made. They have such great stabilization. You can feel it when they kick into trying to stabilize against the rocking of the North Sea. And it can be fierce. Those waves get high. Take the Dramamine or whatever kind of seasick medication works for you, and you will love every minute of it because you have faith. You have faith in the ship, the construction of the ship. The balconies on the Queen Mary are not see-through. They're not like when you take a ship to the Caribbean or the Mexican Riviera. These are solid. I mean, because they know they're going to hit those rough, rough seas and they're prepared. So when you're on your balcony, you stand up and you look out and you see it that way. But it's definitely not a sit down, gaze out at the ocean kind of balcony. And one night, the waves were they really were fierce. We hit some pretty rough sea, And you could feel it even with the stabilization going on, and you would feel as they would kind of, I guess, in other words, kick it into another gear to stabilize the movement of the ship. And you know what we did? We headed for the beautiful Champagne Bar area, and we watched the waves, and we had champagne, and we relied on the captain to do his job, which he and his crew did brilliantly. The staff is unfazed. They just keep on keeping on. The entertainment on board is top notch. Everything about Cunard is top notch. If you decide to take a cruise with no stops, with no ports of call, just be prepared. Know what you're getting into, and if you're the kind of person that can't take 5 straight days at sea with engaging things to do, then don't do it. But if you can kick back and get into the spirit of the ship, whether you are seeing a great show at the planetarium, you're seeing a great show on their stages, listening to their string quartets, whatever it is, do your research and know what will be available to you on board ship as you cross from New York to Southampton to London is where you're going, and to Great Britain. And don't walk into it blindly, because then you may be disappointed, although I can't imagine that you would with the Cunard cruise. It just both of those ships that we have been on, and I will talk about Queen Victoria later, because that was very, very different. We did Panama Canal on that ship, so that's a completely different situation than crossing transatlantic. But I loved every single minute of it. I loved the great dressing up. There's nothing more fun, girls, if you're listening, ladies, than your guy wearing a tux a lot. There's just something about that. It's James Bond, is it? I don't know. I don't know what it is. But a guy in a good-looking, a tux that fits him well, with he can change it up. You can change up a tux on a cruise when you're gone for 5 nights, and you can have different shirts. You can have different ties. Cummerbunds are out. Those are not happening. But not only was the cruise and the ship and everything about the crew and every single person that we encountered trying hard to make it good for you, but the people that we met, the people that we had the opportunity to get to know and sit with and have dinner with, were also incredibly fascinating. Uh, so I encourage you to look into whether it's Cunard. It can be another cruise. There are cruises they're repositioning cruises, and they don't have any ports of call. They're just crossing from one continent to another, and you usually get a good deal on it. Now, the transatlantic on Queen Mary 2, no deals. That's the cruise. It's not a repositioning. It was so no deals on that. But you do have a lot of options as far as the staterooms. You can get very fancy, very expensive suites that with the butler, and so you have a lot of options with the level of specialness, I guess, that you feel. But having said that, it doesn't really matter, because everything about the Queen Mary 2 and the crossing that we did was special. Travel on.